Good morning, everybody. I would like to begin the reports and recognition portion of our meeting by reflecting on some thoughts that Reverend Karen Mooney shared with us in a sermon earlier this spring. She said, "It was Reverend Eugene Creeves who helped found this congregation in 1954. With a passion for prophethood, he worked with the local ACLU and the Valley Peace Chapter and proudly signed the Second Humanist Manifesto in 1973. Lois Schnitzlein, a member of this church, once declared, he kept a church in DuPage County with a free pulpit, which stressed human values on subjects which were not at all popular in the decades of the 1940s and 50s. Nearly 40 years later, these topics are not so unpopular now, but because of Gene's humanist beliefs and determination to stand his ground, this church was firmly established as a beacon of enlightenment in DuPage County. I would personally add to Reverend Mooney's words that given the current climate in this country, some 40 years since Lois's declaration, the existence of a liberal church with human values here in DuPage County is more important than ever. This has been a difficult year, and I acknowledge that many of you were caught off guard by Rev Tom's resignation and are still hurting and in need of healing. And yes, our new interim minister, Reverend Mike Walker, who we will hear from later, is going to help us with this healing process. I have been so encouraged to see our community come together this year to support each other, support our church, and ensure a viable future for not just DUUC, but what DUUC represents in our community. Reverend Mooney went on to ask, have you ever considered that people dreamed of you being here one day? They may not have known your names. They may not have even imagined what you would be doing. They may not have been able to picture this beautiful building or agree with everything done or planned, but they trusted in you as the future and let the ground they were tending swell with possibility. Each of us is bound within this amazing gift of life. We are connected to one another, we are connected to the past, and we are connected to the future. As your new president, I would ask that we take the very best of DUUC, our dedication to this church and community, our commitment to our shared values, our love of each other, and let us carry all that with us into the future. Thank you. Please rise and body your spirit and join us in singing hymn number 188 in the gray hymnal, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. The words will be trajected. Vera's going to play it through for us once, and we're going to sing it 3 times. Audette Fulbright-Folson said, "The work of the church is the work of the people. It is the work of building the world of which we dream. It may require time spent poring over budget sheets, hours spent in meetings where small details are hashed out. It may manifest in shared laughter or outright frustration from time to time, but always it is sacred, for it is in pursuit of beloved community. I would like to recognize the following people. Please stand if you're able. Chris Cable, and you can hold your applause till the end. We'll go everybody. Ann Hahn Bayer, Kelly Huggins, Karen Hutt, Dave Jelliff, Karen Lindebrecke, and Ben McAdams, who is down in the nursery as always. On behalf of our beloved community, I offer the deepest thanks and gratitude to you and your families for your hours of selfless service, now and continued. Thank you. I would also like to thank those who have served in elected committee positions over the last few years and are rolling off this year. Some of these folks are not here today, but Sarah Lensink and Rob Mirabali from nominating. I saw Rob. Thank you, Rob. Josh Falk from COM, Clara Brubaker, who served on PMC, and all those who are continuing in positions on those committees. Thank you very much. And I'd now like to invite Steve Cooper to come present the report on whole church ministry.
Hi. So, whole church ministry, this is a program that we started going into this past church year. We started planning for it back in March of 2018, getting ready for the September 2018 year start. And the idea that we had going into it was that whole church ministry is engaging all the demographics of the congregation into one ministry that builds a connected and missional community. And that is something that we've been working towards all year in trying to have everybody share in the same ministry that's going on. So a lot of this created program change. And there are three areas that were most visible for program change. And that was in the worship, that the services were theme-based. We had a theme each month. And that we had a multi-generational service at the beginning of each month that kind of kicked off what the theme was for the rest of the month. And then all the other Sundays, the kids were in the service, and that we had a time to gather, which was a story or a lesson for all ages. But then when the kids went to class, the lessons that they had the rest of the time were related to that story or lesson that was given during the service. And that story or lesson during the service also matched the sermon for the day. So for that hour, everybody was getting the same message. And this is something that has changed over from what we've tried doing in the past. Also in the small group ministry, a lot of those groups use the theme packets so that all the different learnings that were going on in the church and the messages that were going on were working around the same theme. They weren't necessarily the exact same message, but they were working on the same theme. There's a lot of things that you would see because of this. The newsletter changed. We had a journal that would focus on, a monthly journal that focused on the theme. There's a monthly religious education newsletter that went out to the whole congregation that was based on the theme. Then there was weekly updates that went to families with children each week that would let them know what was going on that Sunday. So there was constant messaging going out with information what's going on and also resources that you can use as a family. Because the idea is that we want to make church a whole week entity rather than just an hour Sunday morning. You would also notice if you're on social media that there was a huge influx on the amount of social media output that was based on the theme, as well as all the messaging through the newsletters. The kiosk in Creeves Hall would let you know what's going on whole church-wise, as well as any of the theme memes. To help remind you what the themes were, when you walk into the building, there's a banner that lets you know what the themes are over the year. And we had artists create a banner each month to help remind you of the themes. So I wanted to go through and thank the artists that created the banners each month. Karen C. Morels took the initiative to do the first one to kind of set the framework of what these were going to look like or how it was going to be displayed. This was facilitated through the Facilities Enhancement Committee. So Karen C. Morels created the first banner vision for the month of September. For October, our theme was Sanctuary. We had a lovely quilt made by Diane Gelder and Kat Gelder. The next month, we had Memory by Jeremy Huggins, and he had a quest for you to do, and that is it's not as visible here, but on the actual banner, there are quotes in there that are written fuzzily. And he explains, memory is fuzzy, it can be hard to work. What will you take away from this piece? Will you remember the garishly bright colors, or will you work a little harder, invest the time and effort to see if any of the messages resonate more deeply? For December, the theme was Mystery. Clara Brubaker created this banner, and her blurb was, "Humans have always marveled at the world around us, with wonder leading us to discoveries, both scientific and spiritual. This piece considers that all wonder and learnings are interconnected, enriching our lives through a variety of thoughts and feelings. How do you experience the wonder and mysteries of the world?" For January, we all created the banner. We put out surveys asking people, what words come to mind when you think of possibility? And we created a word cloud based on those responses. The bigger the word means the more responses we had for that particular word. In February, Diane Gelder at the last minute said, "I have an idea." And she made this quilt in a week, yes.
24 hours.
It was a week of thinking, and then for March, Journey, Ruth Elliott photographed a sand table, and this, in very many different ways, can represent a journey. For the month of April, Wholeness, Sarah Linsink. She said, "I asked friends for things they didn't need anymore, and many of those things went into the weave, so it was also community sourced. Much the way Chris and I have sourced material for our benches. For this piece of art, Wholeness is a collection of fragments from the past and people around us, and together they form something unique." And then for May, Curiosity. And Jeremy took this in a whole new way in that he turned it 90 degrees and made it a vertical. Curiosity, an eager desire to know or learn. Look behind the curtain to see what's there. Open the box. Solve the puzzle because you need to know the answer, not because there's a reward. Octopuses are infinitely inquisitive and multidisciplined, chock full of lateral thinking and collaboration. Be the octopus. Be curious. Thanks, Jeremy. And our current banner, which is more than just a banner, it's a whole three-dimensional artwork. Yes, it's a sculpture made by Karen Peck. And she writes, "When I think of beauty, I think of a baby's smile, a gesture of kindness, a show of love. When I look for inspiration again and again, I return to nature. See if you can find some beautiful creatures hidden in the garden, a snail, a turtle, a bee, a dragonfly, and 2 butterflies. Beauty is everywhere. Take time each day to notice it." So when you get a chance, you can always stand out there and look at the real thing and find the items inside. So I would like to collectively thank all the artists. And next year we have a whole new set of themes. So if you're interested in providing art, let Facilities Enhancement Committee know. The chairs are Jane Kwame and Karen C. Morales. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Ann Ariano. Over the past few years, our community lost several of our beloved members. We would like to take a moment to remember those we have lost. Please join me in a moment of quiet reflection for these members of our beloved community. They will be missed. Thank you. This past church year, 3 of these longtime members left us monetary gifts. We are grateful for the gifts and humbled by the understanding that this beloved community meant so much to these 3 longtime members. Also, a thank you to Linnell Reschke, Sue Ross, Dean Reschke, Neil Lichtman, Jane Gano, and Carrie Friedman for sharing the memories of these special people that I will summarize. Lorraine Keener had an initial connection to this community through the Reschke family. Lorraine served as a nurse for Dean Reschke's father, Dr. Robert Reschke, in the 1960s. Later, her father-in-law, who was also an acquaintance of longtime member Elliot Politzer, introduced Lorraine to the DuPage Unitarian Church. She joined in 1968. She was involved at the church throughout the years, even after she moved to the Beacon Hill Retirement Village in Lombard. She enjoyed her friendships here and was part of many groups, including one that met over lunch on various Mondays. In later years, she appreciated all of the rides and visits that she received from church members. In visits to her apartment, as she became less mobile and her vision failed, Lorraine would always ask about church friends and the latest updates. Lorraine was an avid reader, and in the last few years obtained books on tape through a program offered by the Secretary of State for the Blind. The Department of Human Services had someone visit her on occasion to help her